Today, we're diving into something that's, well, a little bit personal for all of us, our feelings. We're using Brené Brown's incredible book, Atlas of the Heart, as our guide to map out our own inner worlds. We're going to explore why finding the right words for what we feel is so important for really understanding ourselves, and just as crucially, for connecting with the people around us. All right, let's get into it. You know that feeling, right? It's like this wave just washes over you. It could be frustration, or maybe a kind of ache, or even a weird sort of happiness. But when you try to grab the word for it, it's just not there. Turns out, you're not alone. This is a totally universal human experience, and it's exactly what we're going to get to the bottom of. And that's really the heart of the issue, isn't it? If we don't have the words, our own inner world can feel like this huge, mysterious, uncharted territory. And that emotional blind spot, it doesn't just keep us from knowing ourselves, it makes it so much harder to build those deep, genuine connections we all crave with other people. So, our first big lesson is all about language. Seriously, the very first step in this whole journey is just learning to name what you're feeling. It sounds almost too simple, but getting specific, getting precise, it's incredibly powerful. Let's look at a couple of examples that we all mix up.
Okay, check this out. We use these words interchangeably all the time, envy and jealousy, but they're not the same thing at all. Envy is a two-person game, you and someone else. You want something they have. Simple. But jealousy, that's a three-person situation. It's that fear that you're going to lose someone you love to a third person. See the difference? It's subtle, but it's a game changer.
And here's another huge one. Guilt versus shame. Guilt is all about your behavior. It's that feeling of, I did something bad. And honestly, guilt can be useful. It can push us to apologize, to make things right. But shame is totally different. Shame turns inward. It's not, I did something bad, it's, I am bad. It attacks our self-worth, and that feeling is just corrosive. So why does this matter so much? It's not just about winning a vocabulary quiz. When we can name our feelings accurately, it gives us clarity. It helps us tell people what we actually need from them. And most importantly, it's the only way to even begin moving through the feeling instead of just being stuck in it.
Okay, so once we get a better handle on our own feelings, what's next? Well, how do we show up for other people when they're struggling? This brings us to lesson 2, which is all about a massive shift in focus, from trying to fix people's problems to just connecting.
And the absolute key to real connection is empathy. Now, empathy isn't about saying, oh yeah, I know exactly how you feel, because you probably don't. It's about being willing to just be with someone in their experience, to try to understand their feelings from their side, and to let them know you're there. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is, wow, that sounds incredibly hard. And this is where it gets interesting, because empathy has what we might call near enemies. Empathy builds a bridge to someone. But look at sympathy, I feel sorry for you. Or pity, oh, that poor thing. They actually create distance. They put you on a different level, looking down on their struggle, instead of standing beside them in it. And let's be clear, real, true connection is not about erasing yourself. It absolutely requires boundaries. I love this quote. It reframes boundaries completely. They're not walls you build to keep people out. They are the space you create so you can love others and love yourself at the very same time.
Ultimately, it all comes down to compassion. And as it says here, the heart of compassion is acceptance. It's about recognizing our shared humanity, all of it, our flaws, our struggles, our messiness, and knowing that we are all still worthy of love and belonging.
Which brings us to lesson 3, and this might be the toughest one. We can't build real emotional strength or true connection by running away from the hard stuff. We have to learn how to lean into discomfort. Think about these feelings for a second. Disappointment, regret, confusion, not exactly fun, right? We see them as negative and try to get rid of them as fast as possible. But what if they're not problems? What if they're just signals? Disappointment is telling you about an expectation. Regret is pointing to a choice you can learn from. And confusion? That's literally the feeling of your brain on the verge of learning something new. One of the most common uncomfortable feelings is something called cognitive dissonance. You've definitely felt this. It's that squirmy, tense feeling you get when your actions don't line up with your values. Like, you really want to be the kind of person who's in a book club, but you just don't feel like reading the book. That gap, that inconsistency, that's cognitive dissonance. So what do we do with that feeling? How do we move through it? Well, the path is pretty straightforward. First, you have to consciously choose courage over comfort. You have to face the feeling. Then, you get curious about it. Why the tension? And finally, you have to be willing to rethink things, maybe even unlearn some old habits that aren't serving you anymore. Look, we have covered a lot of ground. But if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, don't be. Because it all boils down to one simple, powerful, actionable step you can take right now. The starting point for this entire journey is to just get curious. You know, through all these different places we can go emotionally, naming our feelings, connecting with others, leaning into the hard stuff, there is one single skill that ties it all together. And that skill is curiosity. That's it. It's that moment when you pause and, instead of judging yourself or someone else, you just think, I wonder why I'm feeling this way. Or, I wonder what's really going on for them. When you choose to explore that gap instead of shutting down, that is the engine of growth. Curiosity is what turns our inner world from a scary, unknown land into a fascinating landscape to be explored. It gives you both the map and the compass. So the only real question left for you is, where do you want to start? What new part of your world will you explore first?